everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hear This Now. Tonight's episode is all about sex, right? Sexual immorality. And we're getting ready to be steamy and spicy with it in this episode, all right? So, before we get into it, seeing as we're talking about sexual immorality, someone tell me, what is sexual immorality?
Anything outside of what the Bible says.
Well, I will go last. I will answer last because my answer kind of long now. So, anyway, what is sexual
That was my
immorality?
answer.
Anything? Sean, you have real noise by you. Anything outside of what the Bible says? All right, well, seeing as nobody else has answer for what sexual immorality is. Yes, it's anything outside of what the Bible says in the context of a holy marriage, right? So in the New Testament, the word most often translated as for sexual immorality is porneia. The word is also translated as whoredom, fornication, and idolatry. It means a surrendering of sexual purity, and it is primarily used of premarital sexual relations. From this Greek word, we get the English word pornography, stemming from the concept of selling off. Sexual immorality is the selling off of sexual purity and involves any type of sexual expression outside of the boundaries of a biblical defined marriage relationship. Matthew chapter 19, verse 4 to 5. So that's sexual immorality. So I guess we could dive right into it now that we know what sexual immorality is. So who has the first question?
Everyone in? Yes. Okay, so the first question tonight is, and I think there's a pertinent question to start off with. What exactly is sexual desire itself? Because no sexual immorality could actually take place without having sexual desire in the first place. So, the question is, what do you all think is sexual desire, and is it a sin?
Sexual desire is it's self-explanatory. You have a desire to have sex, and no, it is not a sin. God gave that to us for a reason, which there are many debates about that reason, but He gave it for a reason. You gotta have sex.
Sean kind of echoing. I don't know whose device she's echoing from, but all right. So yes, sexual desire, as Sean said, it's very self-explanatory. A desire to have sex, a desire to have intercourse. Is it a sin? No, it is not. A lot of people will try to make you believe it is a sin, um, i.e., purity culture. But no, sexual desire is not a sin. And what about sexual immorality is not a sin, yes? Aaron talking, but we're not hearing him.
Aaron, we might have to get back to you on now. On Isha, have any views on on
Yes.
on the question?
So, yes, it is self-explanatory.
desire to have sex, and it is a natural biological thing.
Yeah, Ole, am I now? Right, yeah, I go and push the envelope a little bit, right? Um, to me, in my opinion, it have normal sexual desires and it have extreme sexual desires, right? Where people want to sleep with animals and them kind of thing. Them thing, real wrong, right? Keep your business between man and woman for me, please. You understand me? But most importantly, keep it between married man and woman, right? That's just my opinion on the matter.
All right. So just to share a few thoughts on that, I think we all share the consensus that is definitely a normal and natural part of being human. And the reason the question was brought up is because, as I think it was Jade who mentioned, there's this misconception amongst a lot of people that because you have sexual desires, it naturally makes you sinful or perverse, or that something is wrong with having those feelings. And people feel sinful just for having sexual desires. So we wanted to raise the question so that the viewers know and future viewers know that having sexual desires in itself is a part of being a human, and it's not something that is a switch off from you up until the day you get married and then just magically appear after your wedding ceremony. It's a natural part of being human. It's something you feel all the time, or something you'll feel from a young age up until, for the most part, up until you die. So, it's not sinful, and like Aaron says, it's only when it start to become perverse and you start expressing your sexual desires in a manner that was not intended for us to express, is when it's become a sin. But actual desires themselves, nothing wrong with that. So anybody else have anything else to add on that? No. So the next question, and I think this follows right along with the first question, is what is lust? Because a lot of people assume that sexual desires are actually lust, is actually lust, and suddenly it's become not lust when you get married. So in each of y'all's opinion, what is lust exactly?
Lust is I'll say is an intense desire for something that either you already have and you're just going overboard with it, or something that you want and you can't have it. The desire so much it makes you do strange things to get it. It's so strong that you just want it, want it, want it, want it, and you do anything to get it.
Well, before I answer the question of what lust is, right? Actually, no. I should answer this question first, and then I should ask the question that came to mind when Emerson was talking, right? So, yeah, lust for me is the sinful part of sexual desire, which is, well, actually, you see, the reason why I said I'm gonna ask this question first is because is it wrong to lust after your spouse? Well, then I don't know what lust is. I don't know what lust is. What is lust? Is it that, okay, lust is something where you greedy, like you're obsessed with it, you are greedy for it, you want it so badly that you will do some immoral things for it. I guess that is my definition of lust. And this it could be anything. Because you can lust after money, food, people, all these different things, right? So what is lust for real? I'm gonna look that up now.
Well, to be real honest with all you, my answer was going to do mostly what Shan say and a little bit of what Jade say. So I really stumped for words right now. So
I
Isha,
now
take the
see the
floor.
meaning of lust there.
Because the desire is so strong, it will make you do things that you shouldn't do. And that's why it's so bad. Like you can get addicted to this thing. And we all know addiction is not good. We did a show on this already. So, okay, let's say you lusting after your husband. So bad that all in his workplace you want to go and get the thing. No, that's overdoing it, right? So loss is not just a desire. Loss is like a unnatural desire. It's not good, not right. It's a habit doing like how I don't know if I can say the word on YouTube and stuff, but like how junkies would do anything just to get money to think. It is the same way. You doing anything just to get a job.
But look, okay, so I just googled lust, right? And lust is according to Google, lust is a strong sexual desire or having strong sexual desire for someone. So you can't have strong, like, let's take out what Aisha said and whatever, right? You can't have, according to Google, it's just simply a strong sexual desire. So you can't have a strong sexual desire for your spouse. Yes, you
Well, I
can.
well I find what Isha was saying it was going on the right road because if you wanna check me when I working to get the thing, well, boy, I happy.
I was thinking it, but I felt to say.
Even
Nah,
boy, on
I
behalf
just
of
been
all
I
men, we
just
all
been here
agree.
to learn.
We all
I just
agree.
been
Check
here
we.
to learn.
Check we. Check we.
And then, okay, let me say, okay, all right. So, or let's say in check, right? But here what I'm saying, Aisha is saying that if you desire it so much that you want to check your husband on work or check your wife on work to do the thing, right? Then something is wrong with that. But who says something is wrong with that?
I was
How
not
are we
going to
so
answer that
sure?
question. I kind of
Like,
feel wrong
Well,
Not
there.
we.
it affects certain things. The other thing about what it could affect. So
okay,
Hmm.
yes,
of your
it is
work-life
cool
balance.
to desire your husband
Mm-hmm.
and want to do whatever whenever, right? But
Mm-hmm.
okay, when do we stop at a point? When do we stop? So you do this at the work, at his work, but the house in a order. You ain't even cook for the day.
Cook after.
You ain't cook.
You
You
know,
ain't
Cook
Marie,
clean.
after.
You
Do
Chinese
like
cooking.
okay, for example, you are a housewife, right? You ain't cook, you ain't clean for the day. You ain't make up the bed. As you wake up, you get ready to go by your husband's workplace. So certain things did not get done because you just thinking about sex, sex, sex. So when it starts to affect your daily activities and your life, this is why sexual addiction is immoral because it start to affect your daily activities, the things that you do daily. Like you can't work. Some sex addicts can't work. They can't go to a regular job. When they at their job, they have to go in the toilet and do what they do it to themselves because it's so bad. So at what point do we say, okay, this is not sexual desire, this is lust?
all right, you're making sense.
All right. So I think everybody makes some valid points there and ask some pertinent questions. So to answer the question of lust itself, well, we could start with the dictionary meaning, right? I think we're gonna need to throw it out the window because, like Jade was saying, something in song and right about the idea that you can't have a strong sexual desire for your own husband. Then I wait all this time to wait to get married to the man of my dreams or woman of my dreams, and you telling me I can't have a strong sexual desire for that woman or that man or whoever you choose. That's sounding like mad thing. So we had to take the dictionary meaning in context. So there's my views on it. But let me start with what it says lust is, right? In a sexual sense, lust is an intense or unrestrained sexual craving. So like Isha was saying, when your sexual desire out of control, then you start venturing into lust territory. You could have a strong sexual desire for your spouse, but you had to be able to control yourself. Nothing wrong with wanting your spouse every minute, every day. But if it is your house stink and you can't take care of your children and you can't handle your responsibilities because all you care about is jam, you're something wrong, You're going down the wrong road there. So she definitely right in saying that. But you could have both things could be true. You could have a strong sexual desire that constant and you could want to be on your husband walk right through. But if you can't control that desire and say, hey, at some point I had to wash the wares, at some point I had to check the children's school bag, help with school books, do my chores, at some point I had to go to work too. So she right in saying that. But the thing is about lust though is lust is not, and I think Jade you mentioned this, lust is not just a sexual thing. Lust is an overwhelming desire or craving for anything, and the Bible is focused on three types of lust. That lust of the flesh, which is the sexual type, the lust of the eyes, which is things that you want to own or have, is a form of greed. And then you have the pride of life, which is the lust for influence and power and that sort of thing. And all those different things make up what lust is from a biblical perspective. So you could actually have sexual desire, and people confuse sexual desire with lust. Lust is not equal to sexual desire. The sexual lust is just a form of lust. So, and what the focus of lust really is a greed and possession thing. So lust is something that is about a focus on pleasing yourself and on, getting what you want, basically using things that you're desiring with the end goal to make you feel good, to make you satisfied, and not to care about any of the other things around you that concern that. So when you have a sexual desire for somebody and there's a means to end, like, I don't know, a prostitute or pornography, or some woman, like my old man used to say, every dress tail you see passing down the side of the road you want. That is lust because you don't actually have a wholesome sexual desire for the individual. You just want to use them to get off. You want to use them, like we just say, like men just say, you just want a break. That is lust. So we have to address that. The difference between that and what you'll have for your husband or your wife is that you actually have a sexual desire to for that person based on the connection that you have with them, based on the type of love and the relationship and the understanding you have with them, based on the intimacy that you develop with that person. So that sexual desire is one that is acceptable and is actually an encouraged type of sexual desire, whereas the lustful one is only about you. It's not about the other person at all. So lust and sexual desire is two different things. You can definitely have the maximum amount of sexual desire for your husband and it not be a problem. And yes, you could lust for your husband or your wife too, because have relationships where a man with a woman and they don't have that type of connection. But when one of them want to ease the tension, like Shadow say, they just use the other person as a tool, and that is a form of lust, and sadly, it still exists even within the context of marriage. So that was just to me the question of what is lust and how it different from sexual desire, and you can have one without having the other. Anybody else have anything to add?
I just want to ask a question, right? Um, I hear you mention porn just now, there, right? In the context of sexual immorality, right? Is porn really dangerous as people really think it is? Anybody have an opinion on that?
100%. But I guess the rest of you could talk first.
I would
Just,
say,
just now, Shan. Just now, Shan. I just wanted to address some of these comments because they, passing by. So, Krista says, I find it funny that they tell us sexual desire is a sin but expect us to marry and have kids. And she agreed with something that Aaron said that we clearly passed. Right. And then Edward says, hence God told us to go forth and multiply. So we need sexual desire. Suzanne says, lust is a negative emotion, not to be confused with passionate love. And Krista says, who who did that overdoing Asia? What's the door locked? As in, because you said you were going by well, is All right, yes, Shan, go ahead, take it away.
yeah, I would say, yes, porn is it's as dangerous as they say it is. That gives you it puts in your head something that is not real. What is happening on the screen, that ain't real. That is just some people acting for you and for them because they get money for it, right? And it makes, I don't even know how to explain what I want to say, but I would just it makes you some kind of expectations that you have, your mental, what you think about sex, and it objectifies the next person next to you. So you just see that person as an object now. You don't feel real love for somebody, real passion for somebody, because all you know is what you see on screen. That that will mess you up very bad.
So Aaron's question is porn bad? That's what you asked? Right. So I mean obviously porn is bad, right? Um there are some serial killers who were serious porn addicts, like Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was a porn addict, and he said that, like before they executed him, he said that it was because of his introduction to porn that is why he started killing these ladies and battering them in such brutal ways. So in his interview concerning the killings and all these different things, he said that if it was not for porn, then he would not have done all those things. He said the first time he actually saw porn was in a garbage bin because they had the magazines and somebody threw out a magazine and he ended up seeing it now. And that introduced him to all sorts of different porn and all of that. And so if porn has the ability to turn somebody into a serial killer, then we definitely know that porn doesn't only have to do with, sex or releasing a sexual desire or whatever the case is. Porn is literally a demonic gateway into all sorts of crazy things because, well, we know it have porn with humans and animals and little children and all these different things. And so, yeah.
Yeah, pardon me, Ole hear me, right? Yeah, pardon me, Ole, but going on a little ramble a little bit, right? Now, I was doing some research on this. Basically, I ain't gonna say for the whole week in preparation for the episode, but I doing research on this long time now, right? The reason why porn so dangerous and it really, well, it started off being aimed towards men, right? Porn was really used to weaken men enough, right? Porn was really used to weaken men so that, all right, so when men, how to put it, when men filled basically the dopamine levels max out, right? It doesn't make them want to do anything. It doesn't make you want to fight. It doesn't make you want to live your purpose. It doesn't make you want to do any research, study, anything like that, right? And it was used in the past for for opposing armies, where it's like, all right, they were weakening men mentally so that when they come to invade, the men so hyped up on this dopamine thing that they could just rush in and kill everybody, right? The reason why porn so dangerous is because, well, Sean talk about the expectations and how it does rewire your brain and all kind of thing, right? Now, the first time you whack it off the porn, right? You kind of done set yourself up there already. Big man thing, right? Because your brain now say, okay, all right, this is this is sex. I mean, you're watching two people on screen blazing. You understand me? So you kind of like you rewind your brain to think that, hey, this is normal, right? Whereas a man and a woman supposed to be having sex naturally. You watching basically pixels on screen doing things that you wish you wanted to be doing, and you rewind your brain, right? And you keep doing it over and you rewind your brain, and you rewind your brain, and raising your dopamine levels so that when you're doing normal activities now that you're supposed to feel some kind of good way about yourself, like you're going on a hike, you're learning to swim, all them kind of thing now, it don't really have the same happiness level. You're like, all right, I feeling accomplished for doing something like this. It don't really have that again because porn basically wipe it out your brain or continuing to wipe it out your brain, right? And they say, and well, I can't code the page because obviously they ain't paying you this now, right? So one of the research they do too, and they show you some charts, whereas they had some pictures. Where's called the head scan thing? I forget the name of it.
MRI.
That, right, where there was scanning the brains, right, of people who hook on porn and people who are alcoholics and people who hooked on drugs and them kind of different stuff. And they actually found out that the brain wave levels that the person who on porn and who addicted to alcohol and various different type of drugs and things is nearly the same, right? So basically, if you watch too much porn, it's kind of like you're a junkie in that kind of way, and you can't really function in society properly. And you ever see people like they always drag up, they ain't have no energy to do nothing. You're checking them. Your boy, hey, where's he scene? And they're like, hey, boy, where's he scene? You cool?
I was now going on mention them.
Yeah, them is the kind of people who you had to really check for because what they're telling you is that porn addiction does look like them, like how they just move like they're zombies. Yeah. So that is just my 2 cents on the matter.
Another reason why it's bad too is because people literally get sold into trafficking to do this work and stuff. Is not only consensual. Sometimes it's children and you don't even know. It's children, people under the age of 18 and stuff. That's another reason why.
Just now, let me add one more thing. Recently, right? It had a girl. She was 17 years old. She gets sold into porn slavery, right? And her videos was on Pornhub, right? I should not say the name. My bad. Right? Her video was on that channel, right? And they actually make 80 plus videos, right? Of this girl being raped on camera. And it was monetized, right? Like people was watching this thing. And it didn't really catch the eyes of the authority until, well, I guess somebody went to beat off and they see that they know the girl and they notify authorities now. That is how the situation ended up getting fixed.
You were saying something, Isha? That is terrible, boy, Aaron. That is a horrible, horrible situation. I think I agree with most of what everybody had to say there concerning this. I just want to add a little addendum to what Aaron was saying there. The group that supports Aaron's views on the disadvantages of masturbation and how how much problems it could cause for you psychologically and all of that. There's a group on the internet that create a movement called NoFap. Um, Basically, it's a community that encourages people to stop masturbating in order to reclaim their lives. Is for the most part is a movement that says that when you avoid masturbation, it improves your life and your sexuality, and it helps you to function, better refocus your attention on achieving your goals and like Aaron was saying, enjoying other pleasurable things in life, not just sex related, being able to refocus your attention on achieving things and all of that, and the dopamine response might be a large part to do that. So I just wanted to mention that. So here's my take on pornography. It is as bad as they say it is, and it's for a number of reasons. One, to touch on what Shan was saying, it creates a unrealistic expectation in men for women to behave in a way that porn stars would behave, and make and to also teach people that sex supposed to look like something and not supposed to look like at all. It's is make it appear as though it's a purely physical act, when in fact the value of a sexual encounter have probably just as much to do with the emotional and the mental connection between the people as it have to do with the actual physical act itself. Like, when you talk to mature people who've had a fair share of sex, and they have experience with life, they will tell you if they had more than one sexual partner, that many of the times the people who they had the best sex with are the people that they were most interested in as a person, the people that they had the most significant connection with. And not necessarily because of the physical factors. But pornography wouldn't give it, doesn't sell you on that side of the sexual experience at all. It's giving the impression that sex is supposed to be about what you do and how it looks. And, it's a purely physical act, which is not at all a realistic representation of what sex is supposed to be like. It also is something that make women feel insecure because they think they need to perform the acts these women performing and do the things these women doing and look the way these women looking in order to make them their husbands happy, which is not at all true. And I mean, speaking for men, we love women. We find most men find every single inch on a woman to be attractive to us. Some of us will say God knew exactly what He was doing when He made women, and that I personally say I feel like God make women for us and not us for women, because we so attracted to women. We sometimes feel like, oh, they don't reciprocate that same level of intense attraction we have for you for us. You know what I mean? So it is teach men also to expect the women to behave a particular way, which also unrealistic. You know what I mean? Because we don't actually need women to do all these things and look this particular way in order for sex to be enjoyable for us. So that is that side of the physical side. Then it had the mental side of it, which is that, like Aaron was saying, um, it's addictive. It's addictive and is extract life force out of you. I think I had a point I wanted to make about that, so I just want to touch on it quickly. Well, from the biblical perspective, the Bible doesn't actually come out and say masturbation is a sin. Some people reference the scripture that was talking about Onan and spilling his seed, but that didn't mean that. That was him being rebellious against God because God wanted him to impregnate somebody and he refused. Um, but what it boils down to in a nutshell is that you have to define whether or not it's lustful. And as long as it's lustful, as the Bible says, if a man so much as looks at a woman with lust, he's already committed adultery with her in his heart. So from the biblical perspective, pornography is obviously lust of the flesh and lust of the eyes. It's two out of the three kinds of lust wrapped up in one neat package. Uh, so it's destructive in all the different ways you can imagine. So that is my 2 cents on, well, a little more than 2 cents on the subject.
And just to add from what Krista said here in the comments, there is porn, which is the video form that was originally intended for men to look at, and then there's literature, right? And there are the literature is basically for the women, right? And many people do not understand that things like romance novels and I think it's erotica novels that is called them. I can't remember, right? Things like 50 Shades of Grey and 365 Days and all these different porn things. Even oh gosh, or like even Twilight. Even Twilight. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody and I was saying that in secondary school, my friend was reading this romance novel, and the novel was between a kind of vampire thing, but like an advanced form of vampire. Or it was a lycan. A lycan is an advanced form of vampire or werewolf. I can't
A
remember.
lycan is a werewolf.
Well,
Okay, it wasn't a werewolf, it was a different name for a vampire. And this vampire was in love with a human. And because it was geared towards teens, it had the same kind of sexual undertones as things like 50 Shades of Grey and whatever. But because it was geared towards teens, it wasn't as bad, right? And over time and such, thinking about all these things, you really realize that these romance novels are a literal porn for women, because everybody knows in order for a woman to feel attracted to you in any sort of way, you have to work on her mind, right? You have to make sure her mind and her gay. And obviously when you're reading, you imagining things. You could see what you're reading off of the page, right? And these things, that is why 50 Shades of Grey is so popular. It was more popular than, well, the book was more popular than the movie, because she was, well, the writer of the book knew what to say in order to get a rise out of these women. And I know some big women who will literally sit down and talk about these things, like if it's, oh well, we just reading, and they have stacks and stacks and stacks of these romance novels, and they started off as teenagers having the teenage romance novels, onto the adult romance novels, and even sometimes on Facebook they will have people writing little stories and thing, and every single time in the story is always either a werewolf or a vampire trying to look, Shan agreed with me, a werewolf or a vampire trying to dominate the girl, and she's a virgin and she don't want this, but you are my mate, and all kind of nonsense. And it's like, first of all, right, I know seen a comment Susan Hippolyte made there. First of all, right, why is what warped these young ladies' minds to make them believe that sexual attraction has to come with some sort of resistance from you? Right? Why is always the man have to push you up against a wall and it's you too slap before you say, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with you. Okay, you drink my blood or some kind of nonsense. Why? Because even women who were not into BDSM talking about, oh, I want a man like Christian Grey who could tie me up upside down and hit me with a plank in the head. Or you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, let's address let's address these comments here. So Times of Refreshing Ministries or Pastures said, good evening, Pastures. Um, she also said, it is so easy for young persons to get involved in porn because of being on the internet. True that. Imagine there are many films I prefer not to watch. I have to read the comments in a kind of way. Right. Imagine there are many films I prefer not to watch. Trust me, Pastors, we know. Krista says, I think they are just as bad, maybe even worse, because whereas porn is out in the open and can be avoided, the undertones in the films aren't as easily recognized, which allows them to get a pass. It's films, books. I'm not too sure. But yes, Susan Hippolyte said, I remember that book, Jane, but the evil part of it was that there was a mating scene between yes, it had a mating scene between the girl and the demonic creature. And mommy was like, Jane, what is you reading? I was like, mommy, no, it was interesting. I ain't gonna lie. But them books was be interesting. But and then all my friends were doing it, so I had to read it too, right? To be in the know I talked it up. But yeah, that book was crazy.
So that was definitely interesting. Thanks, Aaron, for introducing that question. Um, and to go down the same controversial hole that we just went down, here's a question for you. How far is too far? What is what in all your opinions is okay to do and not okay to do? Is it that the most you could do is shake somebody's hand, or or you could do anything you could possibly think about as long as you're not having sex, So tell us, what is all your take on how far is too far?
With whom? How far is too far with whom? You have to be specific.
Unmarried single young men and women, not married couples.
Well, now you're asking the right question because the
As an unmarried person, single.
marriage bed on the fire, you could do it one time a day. Good, right? But for unmarried, single relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever people, that still depends on you. If you want to walk in the road and hold hands, fine. That mightn't be fine for somebody else. If we're in a maxi, don't hug me, just come on the maxi and tell me bye-bye. That is some people. So it's really dependent on you and what you want. If you like public displays of affection and your partner also likes it, do all your thing. I mean, I'm not expecting all you to stand up on the bus route in Europe and I had to be seeing it. I mean, expecting to see that. Not to say it don't happen, but I don't want to see it. But if you understand, it's up to you. You fix your mix, do your thing, whatever you want to do.
I just want to interject. Sorry, Jade. I just want to interject to ask Shan to clarify. So is it that you're saying, Shan, that anything you want to do is okay, is a personal choice? I just want to make sure we understand your perspective. Anything at all?
I cannot tell you what to do. How far is too far for me may not be how far too far for you.
So do you think there's a limit, like a universal limit, at least like a maximum level that you can't reach or you can't cross within that space that you could operate?
Can you kiss?
If you want to kiss somebody, kiss somebody. I'm not
How about
expecting.
sex?
It's not your husband, eh?
Yes, you can kiss somebody who's not your husband, right? If you want to do so. If you
How about
want to,
sex?
you have to know your limits.
But Emerson asking you something.
Yes.
What about sex? You could have sex if you feel it's okay to do.
I
Still your
cannot,
choice?
that is your I cannot stop you from having sex. I could say, hey,
So
don't have sex.
wait.
And then you still go and have sex. I cannot stop you. That is your personal choice. You have to know, okay, we are not married. This is not what we are doing. Or, well, you know what? I want to do this thing. You want to do this thing. Let me do it. I cannot stop you.
According to the book, the good book, Shan. According to the good book, that is all.
How much things the Bible they say that we don't follow?
Oh Lord.
I don't know what to
Well, remember the question I asking is
what they want to do. I cannot stop you from doing something that you are determined to do. I cannot stop you.
well, remember the question I ask is what you think is okay, not what other people will do. It's what you personally think is okay to do or not. So I'm just asking if you're saying it's subjective, meaning everybody could decide for themselves.
In a general questions. I was not
Yeah,
being
the spot, yes.
specific.
Right.
I was not being specific.
Shia, your answers are me weak. But right. So, how far is too far? Well, anything that is going on to, well, okay, this is my thing. I'm going to say anything that is going on to foreplay is too far, but for some people, kissing is foreplay. You know. For some person, kissing is shot by. Listen, for some people, kissing is foreplay. So therefore, maybe they should not kiss.
It is kissing is for.
Hey, kissing alone, I talking about you know.
Yes,
It
girl.
is. Let me tell you something, right?
Yes, girl.
Let me tell you
My
something.
mind being blown.
Listen to what a sex expert on TikTok said. So you're a real expert
Girl,
or
I know taught you out yourself there on YouTube, Girl,
no?
anything, right? State certain thing up front. State certain thing up front before you decide to, and don't say a sentence quick now. Say a sentence fast and finish your sentence quick before anybody get the wrong idea, right? Because everybody on the panel here face change as soon as you start to talk.
Oh my god. Okay, sorry guys. A sex expert on TikTok said that foreplay it doesn't have to be that same day where you all decide to do anything. So if you all just recently got together and haven't done anything as yet, anything you do up until that point is foreplay, including going on a date. So
Okay.
if you are a couple and let's say you did something on Monday, everything you do between Monday to Thursday, the next time you'll do something is foreplay. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I,
You
I
can,
know. I understand what Aisha saying. Eh? I
I don't,
understand what that
I
sex
don't,
expert is saying.
I
Because no,
don't.
no, 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 no. Listen. Remember, foreplay don't start in the bedroom. Foreplay don't start outside of the bedroom. You have to work on your. Listen, Olaine catching the gems I throw in here. You
Okay, so
have
when
to
you're done, I have a
work
question to
on.
ask you. When you're done, I have a question to ask you, right?
All right. You have to work on each other's minds, right? So a date will make you feel some sort of how. Kissing really will make you feel some sort of how, right? All these things really are foreplay. So then the question is, how far really is too far? Because now I'm in a conundrum. I can't even date my significant other.
But I want to ask a question.
Mm.
If according to what she said, right, if foreplay start as soon as you do certain things, right, then I been a man wrong all my life. Then that what you're trying to say?
How wavy.
Because I know foreplay as you had to be right there for we to start something, or I at least had to be coming to meet you at the end of the day. You can't tell me some Monday and I still had a feeling
Oh,
from Monday to Friday.
I mean, that is true. Look, everybody
That
in the
mean-
comments asking to define foreplay.
Foreplay is when
Unmute.
I can't say why foreplay is on YouTube. You didn't catch what I'm doing now.
Did that on purpose.
I after I look at it. No, but foreplay is what you do in order to warm you up for the main event, which is sexual intercourse. So, for some, well, I guess, yeah, for some people, kissing really is kissing alone, really is, foreplay. And so, listen, I know some people who say that they cannot kiss before marriage because that will take them into a very immoral space. There are some people who cannot hold hands. You all don't know the weaknesses of persons out here, right? Now, I find you have to be a real thirsty individual if I can't even hold your hand. But, I mean, what you gonna do, right? Right? So my answer is anything that is bordering on actual foreplay is too far.
Listen, in my opinion, marriage is too far. Nah, just plain. Um, I been real honest with all you, right? This one is a kind of hard one to answer, right? Because I just think it all depends on the intention of the next person, right? If you know your intentions is not that, and I ain't talking about kissing and thing, right? Because that, for me, that taking it too far, right? That just me personally, yeah, people, not
Wait,
everybody else.
taking it too far in which way?
All right.
As in you find it overdoing it for thinking that kissing is detrimental.
No. Let me just say it, right? I hot blooded, and if you sort of kiss me, you know, understand me. Yeah, that is it with me. Then. Anyway, so besides all that, I just think if you could hold somebody hand with the wrong intention, you could watch somebody with the wrong intention too. So I just think it depends on the other person's intention. That is just what I think.
Um,
Well,
I
yeah, sorry,
think,
I kind of lost. I'm not reach back. Zizi was crying.
well, let me just address some of the comments in here. This comment section lively, I like that. So, I think Pastor said something before. Oh, well, right. So we defined what foreplay is. And Krista said, you see, this is why there's no dating in the Bible. Because from the time you meet, you have to marry. You have to marry forthwith or else you will burn.
So you
That's the
shouldn't
message
get to
that
know,
Krista
get to
is
meet
putting
nobody
out
then.
there. Huh?
You shouldn't get to know nobody then.
No, not according to
I'm
Krista's.
not talking about no according to the Bible. That's a different kind of no, right? I talking about no as in you're talking about the personality and the likes and whatever the case may be. That's why I talking about it. You know, let
No,
us get me wrong and twisted quick.
you have to just rush into it. Look at you. You have to just rush into the marriage. You can't get to know anybody. Right. And now, Edward is saying foreplay starts with the sweet talk, the holding of hands, etc. Well, excuse me. Sweet talk must get people hot. No, but that's the next thing, because I was.
If you say the right words, Jim. If you say the right words in the right tone. But of course,
Sean, get real with me here tonight, please.
I'm
Get
telling
real.
you, but I am telling you, if you know what to say
Maybe,
and
well,
how to say it and when to say it, you get through. You play like you don't know. Play like you don't know.
it's
So
player
study
play.
Jade, she know.
I know
She
say
did
it's
know.
player play.
And this honey that catch flying. So if your husband was cussing you up and thing, and you would not even bother to be his girlfriend.
And some people like them thing. I honey to them, you know.
Exactly.
And that is sweet talk for someone.
Exactly.
I'm mad.
I role playing vibes. You can't be getting cussed right through. So what kind of thing is that? So all right. So here are my views on that. Right. I think each of you have views that kind of appeal to my overall take on the subject. Shan, I agree with Shan perspective a lot, except for the fact that I find she ain't provide no boundaries at all. You know, it's like, well, everybody do all they want. That is the my fight. I can't go so far. I think we had to start with the fact that the Bible make it clear that sex before marriage and adultery is unacceptable. So that not up for personal debate. You can't do that. You cannot have sex and you cannot commit adultery if you're not married. So that is the limit. But the thing is, it's not clear cut beyond that point. So that is the reason we have to ask these questions. How far is too far? Because obviously the Bible say too far is fornication and adultery. So we know that. But like let's say everybody had to define. So it's from there I agree with Sean. Everybody had to define their own limitations below that point, below the limit that you know you can't cross. And as Aaron was saying rightfully, everybody different. From the time you started kiss Aaron looking to eat your food. So everybody had to know the limits they have personally, you know. So I agree with that. I agree with what Sean's saying where that is concerned. But I think what it boils down to is defining what sexual immorality actually is. And if the Bible not 100% clear on that, then then it has to become an individual thing. Like you say, in some people, you hold my hand, I find that feeling a little sexy, you know, according to Brother Life. Sweet talk is a weapon of mass destruction from the time you start to pull out smalls and you say the right things in the right way. And I agree too with the research about that the sexologist and them was talking about that foreplay don't start in the bedroom. Foreplay is wordplay that could be taking place from the time when you leave home in the morning. Or it could have been from the night before where I say, baby, tomorrow night I going on and you know I could leave that in your brain. You while you're sipping your coffee, you can't concentrate for the whole day because you're done thinking about what's gonna happen 24 hours from now. So foreplay is an intellectual thing in addition to the fact that it's a physical thing too. So I agree with that perspective. But like Aaron was saying, don't come and tell me everything we do from the last time to the next time is foreplay. You're playing with my brain now. Like wickedness now. That is all your wicked. So I think it's a give and take, and I think it's definitely a personal thing to decide what how far is too far. But this is what I want to say on it, that any distance you go at all is a slippery slope. Because to be honest with you, we'll all err on the side of, where's the opposite of erring on the side of caution? We all err on the side of a lack of caution. So everybody's want to push them boundaries and go as far as we feel we could go without going all the way and lie to ourselves. It's very easy to do. We say, well, it's not sex and I could, I could kiss you, I could make out with you, I could touch you up. We could go further. Some people feel it's okay to have oral sex, even though it have sex in the actual title. Some people just go as far as they feel they could go as long as they're not having traditional sex. And for some people, that might be okay. So you have to be cautious. There's a slippery slope. And anything you do that actually sending you in a mental space to want to have sex is unwise, because you're putting yourself under more and more pressure increasingly to actually go all the way and have sex the next time. The Bible make it pretty clear in Ephesians 5:15. Be careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. So you have to think about it from that perspective, that when you choose what behavior you have with your significant other, that even though it might not be outright wrong, that you're not committing fornication or adultery. If you're doing something that will lead you closer to committing fornication, it's not a wise course of action, and more than likely you'll eventually get there. So yes, it's a personal choice what you're doing, but I would say err on the side of caution and try to be more conservative instead of being more outgoing, because the more outgoing he is, the more likely he is to end up committing one of the acts that outrightly wrong. So sexual immorality is what it's about. You just have to define how far that is for you. Um, we have our next controversial topic here again, but we sort of touch on it in the mix of these other issues. But what's all your views on masturbation? It might be a taboo topic for we to discuss, but I think it's important that we raise that issue, because that is a controversial one, and I think a lot of people, especially particularly young people, is lean on the side of it being okay. So I don't know what you guys think, how you all feel about it. Where's the views on that?
I think like Aaron went into it kind of way when he was talking about the porn, and I mean you don't watch porn just for entertainment purposes. Oh my gosh, this looks like an interesting movie. Oh, it's a doctor. No, that you don't watch porn for that reason. You watch porn and you take action. So it goes hand in hand. It's not good.
Is the O is a doctor as well killing me?
Right. So when I was younger, I used to think that it was okay for boys to masturbate, because when I was growing up, I just thought that's what boys used to do. I just thought that, hey, fellas just pull skin every now and then, and we just need to accept that and be careful when you're walking into your little brother room or your cousin room, or if your cousin taking too long in the bathroom, well, we just have to accept what's going on there and mind our business. Right? I thought it was okay for boys to do because it was a normal thing, right? But as I got older, well, obviously women does do it too. That's why I have the roles, right? To have all these different things out there. But a lot of people like to bring up the scripture that Emerson mentioned earlier about what's his face spilling his seed and such. But obviously that has absolutely nothing to do with masturbation. He just didn't want to give the woman a child, right? Tema. So this is what I have concerning masturbation here. Since so many Christian men and women are having sex with themselves, you think they'd like doing it. But in Dr. Hart's survey, only 23% gave enjoyment as a reason for doing it. The rest said from habit, because of their sex drive, because they were addicted to it, or from lack of an outlet for sex as the reason they engaged in masturbation. In a weird twist, only 13% said they thought masturbation was a normal act, yet 97% said they didn't feel guilty about doing it. So, the effects of masturbation on your spirituality, right? From my teenage years until I was 36, self sex was a part of my life, and this person got married at 26. Like the others who responded to Dr. Hart's survey, I don't think I could have said enjoyment was why I did it. The emotional hangover lasted much longer than the pleasure, sometimes for days. When the act was over, there was always a strong sense that something was missing. Sex is about connection and communication, spirit to spirit communication with the person we love. When he masturbated, there was no other person. So an emotional misfire took place. Instead of bonding with another person in warmth, intimacy, and love, I was haunted by loneliness, isolation, and shame. And he goes on to say that the reason why most men only last a few seconds, well, like I say most, the reason why some men only last a few seconds when they actually have real sex is because of their habit of masturbating. Because he basically said that masturbation, because you're doing it for yourself, you orgasming quicker, and so therefore that basically making you train your brain as a man so that when it's time for you to actually have sex now, well, a one pump chump, as the young people like to say, right? And then that had me thinking, and I asked Aaron this today. I said, is this why when virgin men decide that they want to have sex, is this why they only last a few seconds? Because they are accustomed wanking off? And that's my question. That's what I really want to know. So,
Girl is a mixture of that and excitement, right? Remember, you in the only time you ever see a naked woman is on screen, or as me and somebody was talking this week in the center of all of our Sunday punch, right? That's the only time you ever see a woman naked now. So you going to do your business now, and you ain't really prepared for it because she had this sweetness in between and outside, right? So you just do your thing quick. You understand me? And she pouting and you sleeping. Anyway, um, the reason why is a problem to me, right? And well, I can't dictate however you choose to live your life, right? For the people out on YouTube land, but they're just for me. Every time you do that, right? Again, I will say you're releasing, you're overstimulating yourself, your dopamine levels, right? And as somebody said earlier, I don't know if it's Sean or Emerson or somebody, but your expectations when it comes to the actual real act, it overinflates. So sometimes, you meet somebody, you like them, but then when it get time to do that intimate thing with them, it's like, wait, boy, this person real underwhelming. And then now it's like a series of underwhelming acts. So you say, boy, probably it was for that person alone. And you go with somebody else now, and them underwhelming, and the next person underwhelming. So it's kind of like you're damaging yourself in that kind of way, right? And then what could happen from you doing it all the time is that you desensitize yourself. Whereas you may have your partner, all right, and let me be real, your partner trying she best, right? She trying she best, and you just there like, girl, go for me, and I can handle. I know how to touch myself. You don't know how to touch me. That kind of thing now. You understand what I saying? It does lead to all of that, right? And The major thing for me is that it is affect your energy levels. So I'm going back on the whole zombie talk from earlier on, right? Well, men could attest to this. Sometimes you do that, you go once, you go twice, you go three times, and you don't feel into dead. You understand me? Because you're actually sapping is your life energy that you're releasing every time you do that, right? And if you do it too much, you could, well, like I say, overstimulate yourself. Where it's like, okay, boy, I had to go and clean that kitchen. By that kitchen, you'll clean tomorrow or Monday, or some other different day when you feel like you build back the frogs in your back to do it. Yeah, you go do that. So that's just my little 2 cents on it.
I agree with everything you're saying. I don't really have anything else to add because everything honestly was correct, was true, and yes, I agree. So
All right. So yeah, I mirror what Ole say there, and I just want to add some biblical context. Um, this might be a controversial issue for some people because, like Jade was saying, the only scripture that is referenced where masturbation is concerned, the purpose for the act had nothing to do with masturbating for enjoyment. Man just didn't want to get the woman pregnant. So the Bible actually doesn't comment on masturbation to say it outright, is if it's outright okay or not okay. So I just want to add a little bit of biblical context now for people to take into consideration. So I'll read a short excerpt here for you. Um, the Bible nowhere explicitly states that masturbation is a sin, but there's no question that the actions that usually lead to masturbation are sinful. Masturbation is nearly always the result of lustful thoughts, inappropriate sexual stimulation, and or pornography. If these problems that it is these problems that need to be dealt with. So if the sins of lust, immoral thoughts, and pornography are forsaken and overcome, masturbation will become much less of an issue and a temptation. Many people struggle with guilt concerning masturbation when in reality they would be far better off repenting of the sins that lead them to masturbate. With that said, is masturbation itself a sin? While the Bible does not directly answer this question, there are definitely some biblical principles that can be applied to the issue. 1. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. If we cannot give glory to God for something, we should not do it. So I ain't too sure if I think masturbating could give glory to God, but it does seem like that is a reasonable thing to assume to me, right? Second one is everything that does not come from faith is sin. That is Romans 14:23. So if you're not fully convinced that the activity you're doing is honoring God, then it's a sin. Another one is do you know that your bodies are temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own, but you are bought with a price. Therefore, honor God with your body. That's 1 Corinthians 16:19-20. So if our bodies were redeemed and bought and belong to God, I ain't too sure that all you want to be choking all your chicken with God's property. You know. Another one is the fruit of the spirit is self-control. That is Galatians 5:22. Masturbation is, if we had to be honest with yourself, masturbation is usually a sign of a lack of self-control. So that can be the fruit of the spirit in action there. Another one is do not gratify the desires of the flesh, for the flesh desires what is contrary to the spirit, and the spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. Galatians 5:16-17. So if we call this self-denial, then self gratification is the actual opposite of what we call to do. So these truths should have a powerful impact on what we do with our bodies. In light of these principles, it's kind of doubtful that masturbation could ever be a God honoring activity. But I mean, if you could find a way to masturbate with no lust in your heart, no immoral thoughts, no porn, no self gratification, full assurance that it's good and right, and giving thanks to God all at the same time, then perhaps masturbation is fine. So if all you could find a way to do all those things and masturbate too, then no problem. But just based on what we read there, those seem likely that any are that possible. So that is my thoughts on that. That is the biblical perspective.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said, right? Two more scriptures. Genesis 2, For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Basically, the only time when sex is sanctioned in God's word is in the context of a marriage between one man and one woman. So, if we agree that masturbation is self sex, then obviously that is wrong. And then we have Hebrews 13, verse 4. Marriage is to be held in honor among all, and the marriage bed is to be undefiled. For fornicators and adulterers, God will judge. Now, I have a question, right? If we cannot masturbate and we cannot fornicate with our significant others, how do we as single Christians satisfy our urges when it comes to sex? Or other than satisfy, how do we handle those urges when it comes to sex as a single Christian person?
What you do is, right, you go in the bathroom and turn it on the coldest, and you stand up and wet from your head to your toe. And when you finish with that, go and put on some worship music and praise the Lord and open your Bible and read it. But on a real love, I can answer that question. If somebody as a single person asks me that, I really wouldn't know what to tell them. Honestly, I'm being real honest right now. I don't know. I don't know.
Ah, yeah, because all them things that you say, it's okay, nice and pretty, but when you're feeling a feeling, like, okay, for real, what are we to do other than having self-control, right? And you see, listen, but get married. Who you marry? If you have no prospects, who you marrying? You had to marry. I got to say something. You had to marry Henderson.
So if I marry myself,
Listen. And then you know what else is very interesting to me? There are a lot of medical articles that will say that men have to ejaculate very often in order to keep their prostate working properly. And if you have no partner, no marriage partner, like what? Right? And then in the case of you so attracted to your significant other, right? And all you kiss and you get hot and bothered, right? As a man, how you going and handle, you know, blue balls? If you don't, like you were just being, I guess you had to pop some ibuprofen or something.
Yeah, we just do, Jay. When you stand up, right, and you're poking out real long, run into a brick wall as fast as you could. That will calm all your urges right there. I don't know how to
I
answer that question. Right? I've been real honest with all. I don't know how to answer that question.
okay, but I said
Most
the
likely,
man for the woman, Aaron.
who's that?
That is for the man to run into the wall, but what for the
Take
woman?
a 2x4, flip it sideways so, and jump in a full splits. Now, I really don't know how to answer this question and all. I stump right now. You know.
Brother, the
Next,
only thing I can
next
say
person.
is one sleep.
and I totally agree with you.
The
You go and sleep
experts
with
say,
fine.
the experts say, I don't know how true this is. The people who, quote unquote, celibate now and all them kind of thing, they say that you had to make sure that you're constantly around people, right? Don't go in the bathroom with your phone, right? Because going in your bathroom with your phone in this day and age, especially if you're scrolling through Instagram, you might see something and it might give you a certain kind of feeling now, but right, this is what them say. This is not what I say. This is what them say, right? No TikTok, no Instagram when you go and sit down on the toilet in the bathroom. It's for men, right? To go and read a book, right? And when you feel the urges, drop down and do 10 quick push-ups. Yeah, I think these people get, yeah, I didn't know what to say. I just, yeah, whatever.
No, and this is a serious question because we could sit down here whole night and say yes, you mustn't masturbate and you mustn't kiss your whoever and you mustn't hold hands and hug. But what is the solution? So Krista is saying here the fruit of the spirit is a journey. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's the reality. Once you fail, try again and do better. And I think that's all you have to do. And Pastor Pan said, take a cold shower, right? So that's basically it. That's all you have to do.
Isha, anything on this one before I say something?
Yeah, I don't answer already. I say we're gonna go and sleep.
Right, right. Okay. Well, so here's my views on this. Well, I want to approach this from two sides. I wanna take this opportunity to use this as a plug for remaining a virgin. And this is one of these situations where virginity does come in very, very handy. Um, you see, the advantage of not having sexual experiences is that it's much easier for you to continue to live a life without the elements that were never a part of it. So as a virgin, even though you have sexual desires, you're already living your life for how much ever years without actually having sex. You already purpose in your heart that having sex before marriage, fornication, is a sin. And the thought of doing that is so much worse for you, for somebody who have that dedication not to commit the act. The thought of doing it is so much worse for you than actually gratifying your sexual desire that you would never do it. At least that is how it works in principle. So I can tell you from my personal experience that, you know, up until I make the alternative choice, that's how it felt for me. So like when I remember when I was in one of my first significant relationships, me and my girlfriend at the time, we used to make out a lot, but I was still a virgin. She wasn't. And we could have kissed for hours straight if I want, and I going home cool, whistling. And she going home stressed because she wasn't a virgin. And I learned from that experience that it really have a significant, um, I don't want to call it virtue, but it certainly have an advantage attached to remaining a virgin because you don't have the knowledge that you would have as somebody who already experienced that, the additional, basically who crossed the line that you shouldn't cross until you get married. That is at a different level of expectation, that your body, is muscle memory almost, that you expect that after this is the next thing. And when you already experience the next thing, you start looking forward to it, your body start anticipating it, and it's been much more difficult not to do it. But when you never actually experience it, you could reach a point like we was talking about in the previous question, a point that to the limit that comfortable for you. And you could stop there and it wouldn't bother you no more than that. You just want to have a little fun, you want to express maybe your intimacy towards the person. Because for me at the time, kissing and fooling around a little bit was more about the experience with the person than it was about gratifying sexual desires. And that's, for me, one of the advantages of having of being in them situations when you don't have sexual experience is that it's much easier to deal with sexual desire. That you just program your purpose in your heart not to do it. And for people like that, the idea of actually doing it, like if you are virgin and you make up your mind as a young Christian not to have sex before marriage, if you sleep and dream that you do that, you waking up horrified the next day. You're thinking the worst because you make up your mind that you would never do it. So that is one way. That is one way to think about it. And then it had the perspective of becoming a Christian after you have that experience. As the Bible say in Romans 6:6-7. It says, we all know that our old self was crucified with him in order that the body of sin might be brought to nothing. Or I think somebody translation say under subjection. So that we would no longer be enslaved to sin, For one who has died has been set free from sin. So if you're no longer enslaved to sin, we have to accept the fact that somebody who hasn't received the gift of salvation don't have the capacity to resist the urge to sin as young Christians have. Even though it may be difficult, you may be, but now he is no longer a slave to your sins, and your sexual desires no longer enslave you like they would have before. So now, if you're still fallen victim to your sexual desires as a Christian, as you was doing before, this time is because of basically it's because of programming. It's because of the procedure renewing your mind still taking place. But it's not something that you can't help but do. It's something that you're used to doing. So, and it's two different concepts. One you basically can't help. And the other one you could help yourself, but it's just difficult and you'd rather not. So you'll give in. You know what I mean? So there's two things to consider. It definitely is something you could deal with. And when you have that commitment, the more time you spend in that commitment, is the more time you're going to suffer from one of them psychological biases. There's called, I don't remember the name of it right now, but it's the time and investment fallacy, which is that after you do something right for a certain period of time and you just break it's be difficult. That is why people doesn't want to end bad relationships the same way, because you just feel like after you spend 2 years with the wrong person, you can't leave them, because what about all that time, and all that energy that you put into it? And the same thing is applied to the time and energy you spend committing to doing the right thing. You just feel like, boy, to not do this now. Like Daddy was telling me, he stopped smoking since I was 5 years old. To give all a personal story. When I was 5, I gave him a pamphlet. Somewhere I see it by some family member saying, don't smoke and I go kill you. So I take it and I give it to Daddy. And he say, boy, my son, give me that, I go read it. And he say, after reading that, he make a decision to stop smoking and he never smoke again. He tell me a day, must be 20 years later, he dreamed that he smoked. And he say he get up real upset, but he still had the desire to smoke, and it's still in the dream. He say he pulling the cigarette and it's feeling good. But when he wake up, he was real upset by it. So when you have a commitment to doing something, every minute that you spend in that commitment does give you enhanced, and increased strength to continue. So that is the two perspectives: the virgin perspective and the Christian perspective, and then the time commitment perspective for you to think about as ways to help you to deal with your sexual desires.
I am concerning the virgin perspective, right? I agree in that, yes, if you have the strength to remain a virgin until marriage, go ahead, do it, because sex in marriage is a very good thing, and it is a gift from God, right? However, I was watching Edward Lightbook's comments here, and he said, boy, you had some serious self control. And the thing about it is, just because, okay, let's just say that you were talking from your personal perspective alone. Let's just say that. Instead of saying that it's a general statement, whatever, because okay, just because somebody has not tasted the sweet fruit, that does not mean that they will stay in the conviction of, oh gosh, I don't want to taste this fruit, I don't want to taste this fruit, I don't want to taste this fruit. Even if they have made the commitment to, keep themselves and all these different things, that does not say that, hey, I wouldn't, have this strong desire to do it, or I don't want to move from one place to the next, and all these different things. And that is why people end up fornicating. Because, all right, you are a virgin for however long, right? And then you meet somebody, you tell yourself you in love with this person, they're checking out all the boxes, mental, physical, everything, you getting hot, right? In that moment, you could tell yourself, oh gosh, I tell myself I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. But the reality of the thing is, even if you tell yourself, hey, I don't want to do this, sometimes you do slip up and you do it, right? So that train of thought that you were on, I think that is more like a personal thing for you. I don't think that is a general outlook, because when
I
I
want to
was a
just
virgin,
interject for one moment, Jane. I don't want to interrupt
go
you for
ahead,
too long,
go
but
ahead, go
one
ahead, go
moment.
ahead.
I just want to clear up something. And I'm not saying that remaining a virgin is a guarantee that you wouldn't fall down the same road as other people. All I was saying is that if you have a commitment to remaining a virgin, it will make life easier to resist the temptation. It will be easier for a virgin to resist the temptation than a non-virgin. That is really the point I was making. Not
Well,
that is a
yeah,
guarantee.
yeah, true, true. Because you were saying that you if when you were a virgin, if you dream you were having sex, you was like, oh my god, the world is ending. But when I was a virgin, if I dream I having sex, I mean, okay, you dream you had sex, like you did not physically do it. You know that God is not going to condemn you because you dream you had sex. You must be open a door and watch some raunchy thing or read some raunchy thing somewhere, and then you dream you having sex, and then you either tell yourself, okay, my hormones going out of whack, or I probably just dream I'm having sex. But it's not a huge like. Let me get read. Let me get read. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, don't misunderstand what I was saying. The fact that I dream it wasn't what was upsetting, and I really just used that as a scenario. But sometimes you dream something and you wake up like you do it. You ever had a dream like that? Yeah, I mean, in an instance like that, where you dream something and you wake up like, oh God, I can't believe I do that. That is
Oh,
what I
okay,
mean. Not
okay,
like I wasn't guilty about the dream. I was guilty about feeling like I actually committed the act.
okay.
Guys, I have a question. So, what you all think about praying before you have sex? As in your husband, wife, are you going to hold hands together and pray? Or you pray tonight, I pray tomorrow, or one is ready and the next one on the side of the bed, ready to pray. What do you think about praying before sex?
You gotta pray before you eat, right?
Okay, let me say we
Grace
not married
before meals.
and we decide to say,
Grace
no,
before
we
meals.
shouldn't do it. Listen, well, let me pray and ask God for forgiveness before we do it.
Why you need to ask for
Or
forgiveness? Is that your husband?
no, somebody who not married and decide.
Wait, I want to address Sean's first comment. I want to address Sean's first comment.
Okay.
Well, question. Okay, so people will think that, this whole praying before you have sex thing, people will really find that to be very hilarious, right? But this is why it is not. God is the one who created sex in the first place, right? If you are a virgin and he is a virgin, or you are a virgin and he's probably not a virgin, right? And the virgin now is saying, okay, I have literally no idea what I am about to do right now. God, I really need your help. And I know it's you who created this. So help our sister out, help our brother out, and make this thing mind blowing. You really think God will be like, haha, he or she prayed about sex. Look at him, look at him. We pray about all kinds of different things. So why now will we not pray about sex? Why will we not be able to say God? Because we asking God to help in every different circumstance. So when it comes to sex, why can't we say, God, please help me when it comes to this thing because I have zero idea what I'm about to do? Or God, please help me to enjoy this right now. Or God, help you understand whatever your issue is.
I
Because there
know
are
people.
some
That kind
people,
of crazy.
what are you talking about?
I'm talking about full on intercession, full on you're
Now
on the side of the bed, kneel down with your hands clasped, kind of pray though.
well, for some,
That kind of prayer you talking about. I mean, everybody will say them kind of little prayers. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about real intercessory, down on your knees kind of prayers.
well, for some people, that is foreplay.
Whoever had to do that probably just read Song of Solomon's with all the blinds closed. All the blinds
Listen,
closed. From
Song
the
of
TV,
Solomon sexy.
Hey, listen, from the time they start to read Song of Solomon, they start to sweat, right? They're closing all their blinds and they're peeping to see if the neighbor could see them. That is the kind of people who go do them kind of thing.
Nobody here. You can pray before you have sex about the act, but not oh God, don't shine by right time. Time and place. Ephesians. Oh, it's Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. Time and place.
Jade, as much as I want to agree with you, girl, I can't agree with you with that. You know? You understand me? I really and honestly can't agree with that. You and your partner just sit down and talk about what going on during the thing. If he more experienced than you, if she more experienced than you, talk about the thing goes slow. That's the most I could say. Right? God, you
No,
ain't going and pray. You ain't going and bust no prayer, and then you just when you open your eye, you just magically see a Kama Sutra book appear right next to you. You ain't going to see that.
no. All
So
I'm
if your
saying
partner you
is
have to talk to,
yes, your partner you have to talk to, obviously. But if God created sex, why can't people pray about it? There are certain people who they grow up in an environment where sex is bad, right? Anytime you mention sex is a curse word, right? And they probably have mental blockages, they have spiritual blockages, emotional blockages, physical blockages that preventing them from opening up freely to their spouse. It have people who they want to get married and everything, and from the time they in front each other, it's like, oh gosh, I don't want to take off my clothes because I went through this traumatic event or whatever the case is. And I think if that is your circumstance, then absolutely nothing is wrong with praying before you have sex, with grace before me.
No, that is not a circumstance. And to only lie down and he touch you and he say, hold on, I just now. And then you start to pray.
Well, I mean, know what's going on because I also heard that the act of sex itself is worship. Eh? Well, you're worshiping God when all you right.
right? So if you worshiping God, that means say a prayer in your brain while you take off your clothes.
I agree with you, Ron.
So that is an interesting question for real. I mean, I ain't too sure if Shan was serious or if that's a troll question that we just addressed it. But and honestly, I think we could give a genuine answer to that question for real. Like Jade, I kind of with you on this one, and I'll tell you why. I think, as you were saying, how sex is a curse word for some people. I think sex is a curse word for most people. It just mightn't be outright as demonized as some people gonna make it seem, but for most people, sex is a bad thing, like it's a taboo thing. And even though we just say it, like we just say it with our mouth, but we don't really believe it in our heart that sex is a God-given, um, glorified act. We still have it in our mind when we talk to God about it. It's like God don't really want to know about them thing. It's like God saying, do all that nasty and talk to me when all that done. Like God don't really want to be a part of that. And that is the kind of feeling that people have about sex, including Christian people, that is an unholy, bad act. Just recently, me and a close friend of mine was having a conversation about sex, and she was outrightly telling me that cheating sex was a bad thing, that God had to legitimize it by creating marriage. So that she believed that sex is a kind of, basically is doing the nasty, like they like to say. It's not a good thing in and of itself. And marriage was created to turn what was essentially a a carnal act into a holy and a righteous act. But then the opposite is actually true. That sex is a holy and a righteous thing created by God for his purposes and for us to enjoy each other and to reproduce, to encourage me to reproduce. Because if sex wasn't good, let's be real, it would not really have no more humans. So it was part of God's plan, and it was also a gift from God for married couples, a holy and a righteous act. But we still have this attitude towards it, like is a kind of carnal, is a kind of nasty, kind of shameful thing that you don't really want to include God in. So it will feel weird to pray about. I know, like just now when Aaron was mentioning it, I think, and I might be wrong, Aaron, but I think what he was trying to say, Jade, is like, you don't need to pray to ask God to help you with having sex. But I don't think that is what Jade was trying to say about her response. It was her thing was whether we should involve God in the act at all, like whether we should pray to bless it. Like we just pray for God's involvement in other areas of our life. We praying for God to be involved when we marriage life, we praying for God to be involved in we finances and in we children and in we education and all the different areas of our life. But yet we don't want to pray for God's blessing or God's presence in the marriage bed because we feel like that is a kind of, because in we deep down in we heart, we feel like it's a sinful thing. I don't know how else to put it, but I really think that is truly and honestly how most people view sex as a carnal taboo act that, well, God says okay because we married, but really and truly is a kind of nasty man thing. God really want to part of that. Do all your thing, hush all your mouth about it, keep it clean as much as all you can keep it clean, and leave me out of it. Please, don't send all your sex prayers up there. But I don't think that is the case at all. I think, like, once I hear this pastor was talking in church and he was saying he was a virgin when he got married, and when he got married is the opposite of what Jade was saying, which is he went all the way, he was speaking in tongues and all kind of thing, and he said, he couldn't help himself, he was so excited. Yeah, I laughed too, but the man was so excited about his sexual experience that the man break out into, the man went all the way with it, you know what I mean? So I just saying, even though that's extreme, it should be fine for us to include God in the sexual experience just the same way we include God in everything else. And the mere fact that we feel weird about it is evidence that we really deep down inside view sex as a carnal, immoral act, and we just think, well, we married, so God will give you the blind. But that is not really the right way to see it.
Anything else you wanted to add, Sean? What was the second part of your question?
No, it was just for the people who know they're not supposed to do it now, and then they decide, well, maybe if we pray first, it wouldn't be so bad. That don't make any kind of sense. It really doesn't. You know you're not supposed to do it, just don't do it. The prayer, yes, of course, you're gonna ask for forgiveness. You place your sins into the sea of forgetfulness. But
Are
you
you
know
all
what you're
saying
doing.
that?
But you know what you're doing. So just don't do it.
All right, well, we have any more questions, any more comments, any more anything?
I think I don't know if Isha had any questions still, unless we touch on all those issues already.
Um, I feel like we touched on all the issues already. Where is it? Oh,
Oh, well,
right.
the only one we didn't touch on
Can
was the first question.
Yeah, exactly. So, can husband and wife be sexually immoral? Can you be sexually immoral as husband and wife? What do you all feel?
Um, there are some things that I have seen and heard that will make me feel very immoral doing that. But I don't think so. Sex is for husband and wife, and if you are comfortable doing certain things and your husband is comfortable doing certain things, I wouldn't call it immoral unless you're bringing in, like, children and animals and them kind of thing. That taking it way too far. But I wouldn't say that it is immoral.
So, okay, go ahead, Aaron. I see you wanted to say something.
Me, I would just go and say he's not the bedroom police, so I can't judge nobody.
Well, I know that. Actually, before I say anything, Emerson, you want to say something concerning the question?
Uh, no, you could go ahead and I could respond after.
All right. So, I always heard that older folks used to include porn in the bedroom, right? And for the life of me, I don't understand why everybody, old aunt or grandparents, have this porn stash that they just used to include in the bedroom. All right, but anyhow, but is that sexual immorality if you watching the porn and then having sex with your spouse?
Yes, in my opinion, that is sexual immorality.
And
Because
what
we
about,
discussed all the disadvantages of porn, and I don't think marriages eliminate them disadvantages.
well, true, but what about using toys? Can a married couple use toys, or is that also sexual immorality? I don't find so. I mean, the porn thing, I find that is sexual immorality. The toys thing, I don't think that's sexual immorality because you're not bringing in a different person or a different spirit into the bedroom. So,
I
yeah.
agree with you on that. To me, buy out the whole toy store if you want. Whatever you comfortable with and your spouse
Mhm.
comfortable with. Once it's just all you, and if it's an inanimate object, then means nothing wrong with that. If it's not next person, because even though porn is media, if you really look at what the word media means, a third person, you know, even if it come in a digital form, a media or a medium is a third person in between you and the thing you're trying to connect with. So porn is a third person you're introducing in the form of a medium, but a toy is just a tool. So I don't see nothing wrong with that. If you comfortable with it and you're liberated enough to have the experience without feeling uncomfortable and your spouse feel the same way, I don't see nothing wrong with that. That is my view.
Well, yeah, that's, I agree with you. So that is my answer for that question.
Anything on it, Aaron? Yeah, any views? Nothing? All right. Well, to me, yes, yes, sexual immorality can exist in the marriage, in a marriage scenario, as long as you introduce, well, I think we cover it, which is as long as you introduce a foreign object, well, not, let me rephrase, as long as you introduce another party, another individual. So if you do that via some sort of media, or if you do that by having threesomes, or by swinging, or by anything weird, children, animals, any other living, breathing thing, or basically any third party. I think that is where the immorality does come in. Or if like in the earlier discussion, if you use your spouse as an object of lust and not as an object of healthy sexual desire, then you could have sexual immorality in your marriage too. That is my personal opinion. That part I'll leave open for discussion in my head, because some people may argue even if you're using your wife or your husband as the object of just easing the tension, that might still be okay under the context of marriage. But in my head and in my heart, I don't think that aligns with the character of God. And I think in order to interpret scripture, if your interpretation don't align with the character of God, then it had your interpretation wrong. So I feel like if you're using your wife as an object to fulfill your sexual desires only, just to get yourself off, I believe that is still sexual immorality in my opinion. But other than that, to me, well, if as long as it's in the confines of the marriage bed, quote unquote, and with love and respect for each other, or they could do whatever all they want. That is nobody business but you and your wife own or your husband own, whatever the case may be. And as long as it's just the two of you, I find everything cool. So that is my view on it.
Edward Lightfoot said, neither the toys nor the porn is demoral, immoral. I don't know. That is part of the generation. Edward is part of the generation. Anyhow, let me behave myself,
When you see the Edward like he had a stash boy, like Chris Rock saying a comedy special I listened to once, that women has never find the porn in the secret hiding spot. There's always find it in the VCR when you forget to take it back out.
BCR too, eh? BCR. Oh yes, I'll keep my thoughts to myself. So anyhow, if we have nothing else to add to this juicy conversation about sex, I guess that's it for this episode. We want to thank all of our viewers and commenters and panelists for doing such an awesome job tonight. Um, He says as long as it keeps the marriage interesting. I real not for that one. Like craziness. Like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this video on all of your personal social media accounts. Like it right now. Come back to your screens. Like, press the like button. Follow us on Instagram at Hear This Now. Follow us on Facebook. Hear This Now. Today's episode was sexual immorality, but you can get caught up on our other episodes with other juicy topics. And we just want to say thank you once again for viewing. We love you all. Edward say he never had those stuff. And bye bye.